In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing this Gratkit resin, which is their ABS Like Resin, and see how it compares in terms of quality, a bit of a drop test as well, and how it works out for miniature printers. Full disclosure, Gratkit did kindly provide me with these two bottles just to test them out and see how they work. So the Gratkit resin promises to be like your standard ABS Like Resin, so it should be able to take a bit more of a bend or a knock and just take a little bit more damage if you're using things like tabletop miniatures that you printed off on your resin 3D printer. So opening up the box with this, you do get a couple of extras. So you get things like the rubber gloves, and it also comes in a slightly different tub. So it's not like your round tubs that you normally get. It's this kind of like square-like tub. Makes it easy enough to pour. They've got these like grips on the side of it as well. Pretty nice design, seems robust, not had any issues with spillages or anything like that. Moving on to actually printing with it, and I've got to say I had no real issues with it. The one thing I would note, in compared to something like the Gratkit ABS Like Resin that I've used in the past, I did need to bump up my exposure times by like 0.2 of a second, so just bear that in mind. That could just be down to my kind of print settings, everything else in the environment. But when I was going through all the tests and everything, I found that consistently just bumping it up just that little bit more meant that I got better print results. Otherwise, they came off just a little bit tacky. Once I dialed in those settings, I had no real issues with it. It printed off very, very nicely. If you've used something like the Gratkit ABS Like Resin in the past, it was very similar in the way that it prints off. It wasn't like thick or sticky, it didn't make a mess or anything like that. It smelled just a little bit more than other standard resins I've used in the past, although again, that's an anecdotal thing. It might not bother you, it might be different for the batch that you get, but it did seem to smell just ever so slightly more, but it certainly wasn't an unbearable resin. Getting some miniatures printed off was nice and easy. Obviously loaded up my build plate, got them all printed off, cleaned up. Cleaning was nice and easy, didn't have any issues with like residual resin sticking to them, and then I was good to go. Broke them off supports, got them cured. And for this video, I've been playing around with some of these like Space Marine proxies by Gamut, which look absolutely awesome. I'm really excited by these. And these Grim Guard soldiers by Station Forge, which are also some fantastic looking models. The details and everything that came off on these were really nice, clear, crisp. I didn't have any sort of like areas where it was muddy or I was losing any of those details or anything like that. So in terms of details on this miniature scale, I got some fantastic quality prints from it. Now moving across onto durability, I did my 3-drop process, and basically how this works, I take these 3 demons by 1-page rules and I'll drop them from different heights. So the first height, which is my low one, which is 20 inches high, followed up by 34 inches high, and followed up by 62 inches high. And the aim is to see how long these 3 miniatures last between each of those drops and see if any of them make it to the end. The reason I always choose these miniatures is because they've got all of these really fine details that come off. They've got like the tail, the horns, and especially the sword. It's got a really thin connection point. I figured that's going to be quite representative of loads of different types of miniatures out there. The height, in my opinion, you've got like your, I guess like coffee table height at the lowest end. You've then got your normal like gaming table, desk height, and then you've got like your top shelf height as well. So it gives a really nice little range of different heights that you might be storing your miniatures at. Now, I was really pleasantly surprised by this resin when I got through the drop test. On the first one, 2 of them survived. 1 of them did break at the sword, which I kind of expected. At the middle height, none of them broke, which was really surprising. And then at the top height, 1 of them ended up surviving. And normally, if anything makes it through to that top height, it tends to break on that last drop. I think the only one I've had survive so far is the Gratkit resin, which had 1 survive through to the top one. So it's really nice to see that this resin also managed to make it through as well. So in terms of durability, it definitely beats out a lot of the other ones that I've tested. So I was really impressed with it. So all in all, I've been really impressed with this resin. The only issue that I found is that I had to bump up the exposure ever so slightly at the start. But apart from that, this has been a really good, reliable resin. I've not had print failures, cleans nicely, gives some great details, but most impressively, it gives a really nice durability as well. So when you're printing at this smaller scale and you've got your miniatures and you want them to last, it does a fantastic job. Quality-wise, it doesn't quite compare to something like the 8K resin that I recently reviewed, but it certainly sits alongside nicely with all of the big name brands that I've tested so far. So really, really impressed by this little resin. So thank you so much for Gratkit for sending this over to me. It might potentially come through as my new favorite resin and my new one to go to, especially for miniatures. I'm going to be doing some more follow-up videos with the ABS Like Resin and the ABS Like Resin 2.0 just to see how they compare, because although I've used them, I haven't actually done the full test on those beforehand, so I'll see how that works out. I'll also have a video coming up in the very near future where we'll compare all the ABS Like Resins in just one video, so you've got one easy to use resource, and I'll probably go up from 3 demons to 10 demons as well, just to really, really put them all through their paces. So make sure you subscribe for that one. In the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed that. Hit the like and subscribe button, come along for some more 3D printing content. If you need to buy any more hobby resources, I'll have those linked down in my descriptions below. There'll be affiliate links, so it just helps me out a little bit, doesn't cost you any extra. And if you want to ask any questions, head on over to my Discord channel where all the hobbyists hang out. See you soon. Bye.